Or Shalom Israel, we the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. The Friday night Lashawan Qadash class, where we break down the scriptures from a linguistics perspective. So that you get a full 360 scope of what's going on in these scriptures. The Bible is a compilation of books written about, by, and for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are the Israelites of antiquity. You look at these curses, you look at the scriptures, you look at the prophecies, you look at the condition of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, and nobody fits this Bible like us. Nobody fits these curses and the punishments that come from the Most High like this Bible. Nobody fits the description of the prophets and the people in this Bible like Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. This Bible wasn't addressed to anybody else. Prior to our oppressor beating their language into us, we spoke Hebrew. And you can look at all the archaeology and the history pertaining to that. But before our oppressor came over and stole Hispanics and Native Americans from this land and pushed them into Central and South America and displaced them, put them on reservations and all of that, before we were bought from the coast of Africa and sold into captivity over in the Americas, we were speaking the Lashawan Qadash, which is the Hebrew. You look at any archaeology, you look at the garments, the documents that were found, you know what I mean? And you're going to see shields of David, our holy seal, the seal of Zion. You're going to see those all over our garments. The garments that you see even to this day. You go to the what's it called? The reservations, and you see the garments that the brothers and sisters wear. They got fringes on the border of blue. You know what I mean? Covered in shields of David, Magun Dawada. With this, you're going to see this signet right here. You know what I mean? All are just, all are proof that this culture that's in this Bible belongs to the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, or the Hebrews, which is the language that we spoke before our oppressor beat their language into us. So that's why we do this class. You can't understand the Bible without the Hebrew. What you see in the Christian churches and the Catholic churches, you know what I mean? They don't even talk about the Hebrew. They don't even mention the Hebrew language. You go into the Catholic Church and they teach you Latin. You know what I mean? Because before King James authorized the translation of the 1611 King James Bible, they were trying to translate the Bible into Latin so that the only people who could understand and read the Bible were the Catholic priests, who were, I believe, Romans, you know what I mean, who were oppressors. So King James authorized the translation from the Hebrew into English, a language that that Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans can understand. I mean, that's the reason why we use the King James 1611 Bible to this day. It's a word for word translation. That's why we go in the Bible Hub and read the Hebrew and break it down during Lashawan Qadash class, because that's a word for word translation. The rest of the translations, the NLV and the NLT and the any version, the New King James Version and all of those different things, those are thought for thought translations. That's why the Christian pastors and these fake Israelite groups and these solo Israelites and all of that, and people who try to debunk the Bible, they read from these new translations they confuse because they read from these new translations, and the new translations is a thought for thought translation, meaning somebody thinks that John 3:16 means God loves everybody. So when instead of saying the Lord begot, or his only begotten son, or instead of saying thou, so with the two, whosoever, all of those things that you see in the Old English, it'll say, for God loved everybody, that he gave his son, who is also somehow God, which don't make sense. If you got a son, he can't be the father as well. That's what you call I don't know if I can say this online. That's what you call sexual immorality amongst your family. That's the product of sexual misconduct amongst your family. I mean, I'm not sure if I can say the I word on here, so I'm gonna, you know what I mean, but Salakia. But Point is, the Christianity doctrine don't make sense. And if you read the John 3:16 or any scripture in any of these new versions, it's going to say God loves everybody, so he gave his son so that everybody in the world can live forever. And that's not what that scripture is talking about. That scripture is a conversation between Christ and a black man talking about Israelites. I mean, you skip up to verse 14, which is 2 verses above John 3:16, and it talks about as the as Moses lifted up the serpent to the in the wilderness. Who was in the wilderness? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But Salakia. You know what I mean? Point is, you know what I mean, we read the John or Slacky. We read the King James version, 1611 version of the Bible because it's a word for word translation, and that's why we use Bible Hub as well. So if you don't have Bible Hub, let me go ahead and share my screen as well. If you don't have Bible Hub, you want to get it on your phone. I'm gonna be sharing Bible Hub on the screen as we go through the class. But it'll definitely be better if you have it in front of you. If you got a laptop, then you can have it on the laptop. If you're on your phone, I know you might be watching class on your phone or whatever the case is, but what you can do is, I don't know if all phones do this, but I know for sure, like if you got an Android, you can have the class playing on YouTube and then minimize the screen have it playing either in the background or have a smaller screen, just kind of like playing. You'll hear the class, and then as we going over it, you can have Bible Hub open as well. Or, you know what I mean, you might have to just zoom in on what we got going on the screen. Because again, I'm be sharing Bible Hub as we going through it. Where we at? 43. So we're gonna be picking up from where we left off last week in Sabbath service and then Lashawan Qadash class. We ended last week in Sabbath service, Genesis 43 and 33. Lucky. We'll be picking up Genesis 43, 34. You got any questions or comments in the class, you go ahead and raise your hand. We'll address those. And also, if you got them in the chat, go ahead, put them in the chat, and I'll address those as well. Also, before we get started, if you got any questions or comments outside of class, you can, if you're in the Killeen area, you part of the Killeen zone, or if not, you know, I mean, it really don't matter. But if you got any questions or and it's outside of class, you can, you know, I mean, you feel free to hit me directly, or you can scan that QR code in that corner, in that top left-hand corner. And let me see, Salakia. I believe it might be. I think it might be left or y'all right. I'm not sure, but you see the QR code in the corner. You can scan that QR code and ask your questions there as well. And if we're not able to address them tonight in class, then you could put them there. Or I'll just read your comments later if I miss any questions, and then I'll respond in the comments in the YouTube video, and then or Facebook, and you should get a notification. Wherever you left your comment, you should get a notification that I responded to your comment. But those are all the different ways you could get your questions answered. All right. Let me see before we get started. Do you have any questions about the Hebrew or anything before we get into the Bible Hub? Okay, no sweat. All right, so just to get a little context, I believe we talking about Joseph, who is Yawasop in the Hebrew. Joseph is dealing with his family. So his family is going back and forth from, I believe, from Canaan to Egypt. They're trying to maintain during this famine. And even though they don't know that that's their brother, he knows that that's his family. So he's trying to, in a sense, he's trying to make sure his family's good. He's trying to, in essence, he's trying to make sure his family's good. He's trying to make sure his father is alive, that his family is taken care of during the family, that his brothers, that his younger siblings is taken care of, and all of that. Before he reveals that it's his brother, that is his family. Let me think. Or, as a matter of fact, let me read it in English. But that's pretty much where we at in the story. We'll go into the details during Sabbath service, but right now, you know what I mean, just for time's sake, we're gonna focus on the Hebrew. We go to English real quick. 30, yeah, kind of 34. Read verse 33 real quick.
You want to read it?
Uh,
What you got?
uh, reverse 30. Reverse 32 real quick, just to get the context.
The book of Genesis, chapter 43, verse 32. And they said, born for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews.
Right. So this is where we left off last week. So what you're seeing is separation. See what your Christian pastors and these blackety black Kemet and Egyptologists, they like to try to join you with Egypt. They try to join your Christian churches and your Catholic churches. They try to join you with everybody. But right here is what you're seeing. You're seeing a custom of the Egyptians separating themselves from the Hebrews, which shows you that we are not Egyptians. We are not Africans. Like, you know what I mean? Like your Dr. Umar and your Polites are like to try to convince you. Your Dr. Malachi York and all of those, you know what I mean? That we like to pattern our behavior and pattern, you know what I mean? We trust their doctrine and their, what's the word? We trust them with the intelligence of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. When they're teaching you a lie, they're teaching you something that is absolutely not true. All right. Slacky, go ahead, keep reading.
Come on. For that is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
Man, that is an abomination to the Egyptians. That's an abomination to the Egyptians, meaning the Egyptians don't think that it's right for a black, Hispanic, or Native American to even eat with an Egyptian, which is Matazar in the Hebrew. That's what, you know what I mean? That's always, this is back in Genesis, the first book of the Bible, Genesis, the 43rd chapter, saying it right here. And that's the spirit of the Bible all the way throughout. The whole Bible is about separation. Even the name Holy Bible means separate records. The whole Bible is about separation. It's like, go ahead, read on.
Come. Verse 33. And they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one at another. Verse 34. And he took and sent messages unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times such much as any of theirs. And they drunk, it's like a drink, and were merry with him.
Okay. Let me see. Trying to see if I don't think that Joseph has revealed that he's their brother yet. Okay, that's the whole point I was trying to find out. But
so like it,
come.
If I may, that's crazy. Verse 32, like, you know, we try to gravitate to these other nations, but these other nations not try to gravitate to us. Like 32, the Egyptians, there's an abomination from the eating with us. So I don't know why we keep on trying to, bring everyone into the fold, but they ain't even trying to be with us. You know what I'm saying?
God.
We second class citizens according to the Egyptians right here.
God.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy. Man, you see it in the scriptures all the time, but I don't know. I guess their comprehension is not where they need to be at.
God. Now that's exactly what it is. And a long story short, the people we learn the Bible from don't know the Bible. That's the short story. Well, you know what I mean? Like we was going into these past couple of weeks. Your Christian pastors, you look at the history of like the Christian church, it starts with slavery. So before slavery, it started with the you know what I mean, the what's it called? What's it called? I forget what they call it. But basically they were spreading Christianity with the sword. Like the Christians and the Muslims were fighting for power and for rulership of the world, and were trying to spread their philosophy and their doctrine, because originally, like in war, if you took a nation, you converted all of them to that religion. Every nation had to be or follow that same God that you believed in and all of that, because that's how you rule over a people. Right. So that's how they were trying to spread their religion, their doctrine with the sword. I mean, now you get the fast forward the black Christianity, like the Christian church, the the black Christian church that started in slavery, where they had a black man who had been brutalized and beaten, or who had watched the strong of their people, be brutalized and buck broken and all of those different things. He had watched all of that, or he had gotten beaten himself, and he got put in a position to teach the lies, to teach that God loves everybody and that Christ is the white man and you should love white Jesus and you should be obedient to your slave master, all under the fear of losing his life. And then they would have some white man sit in that pulpit or sit in that Christian church with him, over maybe had a a weapon aimed at him, making sure he was teaching you them lies. So that's the long story, or the people who we learn the Bible from don't know the Bible because of that history that I just explained. So now when we read, like you just said, like, is it a comprehension issue? That we just read it in the book of Genesis, chapter 43 and 32, that it was an abomination for them to be joined with us. So when we say the Lord don't love Africans and the Africans don't love us, or we're not Africans and all of that, they say, oh, hush your mouth. It's generational trauma, where now they beat that lie into us with fear. So now, even though it's right in your face, like, it can't get no plainer than that. It's right in the Christian's face, but they'll read it and still think that somehow God loves everybody. You know what I mean? But it's a combination of things. It's fear. It's that because of that history, and now your Christian pastor has to continue to teach you these lies so that they can continue to reap the benefits of being a Christian pastor. Robbing the people and having that things of that nature. Everything that happens in that Christian church. Well, okay. Where are we at? Before we get into before we get into Bible Hub, let's see. Remove this. You see the candlestick, the menorah, Slakia, rather. Lit. We are currently in the Feast of Hanukkah, right? The Feast of Hanukkah. The word Hanukkah means the dedication. You mind grabbing that Strong's Concordance? And it should be a tab at the end that says Greek. And look up the word Chanak. Chanak. So you would have to, have to do say your ABCs, your Hebrew ABCs. Abba, Gada, Ha, Waza. That's why in the beginning of class, I would always drill it. You know what I mean? Because when you're using it, yeah, so there's a tab word. So go to the Hebrew section. All right. And that's why in the beginning, like, I would always drill the Hebrew alphabet. You know what I mean? Because you want to know it. You want it to be second nature. Right. So that you can, just like how you would go through the English dictionary, you got to know your ABCs. So you want to find a word in the English alphabet, you'll be like, okay, what does this word start with? Dedication, because we're talking about the Feast of Dedication. Khan. So you'll be like, okay, so cha, na, ka. Right. So the same way you use the Hebrew dictionary, and let me know when you got it as well. But when you take your time, and I'm gonna do a little talking, breaking down while you finding it. But just to reiterate, like, this is to be able to use the resources like the concordance, which is gonna be a tool that it's gonna be, it's gonna be your best friend. It's gonna help you be able to build your vocabulary and be able to extend your vocabulary and understand the language. But when you to be able to use that tool, you're gonna have to know the Lashawan Qadash alphabet. You're gonna have to know the characters very well, and especially the beginning and ending characters, like you see on the board. You got some Hebrew characters in the Assyrian Hebrew that's different whether it's found at the beginning or middle of a word versus the end of a word or a phrase, rather. So you're going to need to be familiar with that as well. All of these are these foundational tools that seem elementary, that seem tedious to learn at the beginning, but you want to have that strong foundation so that you can use these resources. So with that being said, that ka at the end, it's not going to look like that ka that you see on the board at the top. It's going to look like that long seven looking character at the end because it comes at the end of the word. So ha, na, and ka. You found it? Okay. So what it absolutely is, it's something that's small. It's something small, but it's something that's easy to get under your belt as well. I mean, you just got to do that practicing. Like you, just open up your notes. Get that. If you ain't got the Hebrew sheet, just holler at your camp leader and he'll get it to you. You can actually find it on Google as well. But holler at your camp leader, get it to you. He might, you know what I mean, tell me to give it to you, and then we'll go from there. Uh, but just go through it and just abagada hawaza hata yaka lamanasa I pataza kwa rashata. Come on. And then you'll see that that last character should look like a seven, like a long seven. All right, we'll read that definition. Uh, is there more? Let me see what you got. I'm gonna go over there. Kata yaka. So it's just after where you at. What time? So let me see. Let me read the when you read the component code as well.
Khan. This is the Hebrew Hakah. The according is hotel. Oh, it's like it. H2596. It printed to root properly to narrow,
Uh huh.
figuratively to initiate or discipline.
Discipline. That's one synonym of the word chanak. Yeah, I got the camp leader of the RGV here in Texas is named after this word here, chanak, which means discipline, disciplined, or go ahead,
Dedicate,
or dedicate, or what?
dedicate.
You see the correlation between those two words, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to be disciplined, you have to be
Be dedicate.
dedicated. You know what I mean, that's the root word of Hanukkah. I mean, so Hanak. All right, so let's see. You mind grabbing that whiteboard? Is that whiteboard down there? The whiteboard down there.
Yeah, Khan.
And I just want to see something. See if you can break this down, right? Because this is what it's all about. This is what we're going to be reading once we get into Bible Hub. So we get into Bible Hub. This is what you're going to be writing down. So write Hanak, but just for the ancient or the Syrian Hebrew rather. Kind of write it pretty big to where so I can see it. Or I should be able to I should be able to see it however you write it. The word Hanak. You actually got it right there in the dictionary. Hanak, right? And we're going to see how the word Hakanaka is built, right? And again, this is what you see in Bible Hub, phrase by phrase. It's the exact same thing that you're going to see in it's the exact same thing that you're going to see uh in each phrase that you read in Bible Hub. So ha na ka. Right. And you can instead of the last ka. That's so how do we get from kanak to hakanaka? That's the point. How do we get from kanak to hakanaka? Right. And I kind of just gave it to you just by saying it, just by saying the word hakanaka. How do you get from kanak to hakanaka? So, right. So that's Chanak, right? So what's missing? So how do you get from Chanak to Ha Chanaka? What characters are missing? Uh-huh. Right, which means the. So Ha Chanak. Now what's missing now? Ka. At the beginning, and that's it. No more characters missing. Ha ha at the end. Ka. Meaning what? You know what that ha at the end means? You got your notes? Yes. I don't think I it's not on there. It usually is on the board, but I had to replace that cheat sheet a couple times. But it absolutely should be in your notes. And it's something that you see often. Something that you see often, especially like sisters' names, uh, in words like this. The ha at the beginning is a possessive or preposition rather, Salakia. Khan. Khan. That's exactly what it is. So the root word is kanak. And the root word of Hakanaka is kanak, which means dedicate. So ha Hanukkah just means dedication, right? All right. But that's why you see these the menorah lit up. You're gonna see this menorah lit up for the next, I believe, uh 5 days after today. So yesterday was the beginning. Today is day 2 for the next 5 days after this for tonight and the next 5 days following. Uh, when we have class, you'll see the menorah lit every class. All right, but that's what this is about. The feast of Hanukkah or the feast of dedication is where our oppressors destroyed our temple, and we got it back. We got the possession of the temple back from our oppressor and rededicated. So they destroyed our temple. They defiled it. They were sacrificing unclean animals in our temple. They profaned our holy things. They stole our gold. They stole our menorah. You know what I mean? Like they always do. But you got something.
So right, you talking this you talking about the Egyptians at the moment, right?
Not the Egyptians. The Feast
Yeah.
of Hanukkah is about what's up? Okay. It is the Grecians, I believe. The Grecians. Kind. Antiochus. And you could look this up too. You know, what I mean, this is how you know that the Bible is a living book, and this is a history book. You can look up Antiochus and Epiphanes and Alexander the Great and all the names that's mentioned in the book of Maccabees, the first chapter. All those names. You know, what I mean, you're familiar with Alexander the Great. He is a staple in white people's history. You look at I mean their history classes, you look at they believe that Alexander the Great is a real person, but they don't believe that the characters you know what I mean, not the characters Salakia, but the people in this Bible, you know what I mean, are real. You know what I mean, they don't think Jesus Christ was a real person. They don't think Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John was real. I mean, but this is a history book, and what we're observing tonight is history. So the Grecians ransacked our temple, just like was prophesied in Daniel. Uh, just like you know what I mean, like they did in the Book of Kings, like Kat brought out last night during the opening of feast. Like they did several times. Like you'll read after like this where we're at in what's it called, in Sabbath service. We're about to we're coming up on the end of Genesis, and we're going to be going into Exodus. You go into Exodus, the first chapter, and it goes into, like you was talking about earlier, the Egyptians. They did the same thing. So, you know what I mean? Joseph is making sure that Pharaoh and the Egyptians have enough to eat throughout this famine. Without Jacob, without Yawasap in the Hebrew, they would have died. They would have perished in this famine. But Jacob and his wisdom that came from the Most High, he was able to make sure not only did the Egyptians be able to survive that 7 year famine, but he was able to make sure his family survived as well, and his people, and he was able to put them in land, which we'll read later, called Goshen. You know what I mean, where they can thrive and survive as a people and grow. But you read Exodus, the first chapter, and you see how the Egyptians, after Pharaoh died, they didn't know or have any respect for Joseph. So they saw the Hebrews and they was like, these people are mighty and strong and wise. You know what I mean? But they were separated. They were separate from the Egyptians. So like we always were, like we just read in Genesis, the 43rd chapter. We were always separated from them and they were separated from us. But we started to grow and become strong. And the new Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph, he was like, we got to do something about these Hebrews. We got to do something about them. So they did something similar, like what they did in the book of Maccabees, which is what the Feast of Hanukkah is all about. Where they, you know what I mean, they came and imprisoned us and destroyed our people, and you know what I mean, they commanded that, you know what I mean, our oldest, our you know what I mean, our midwives take the lives of the males, because that's how you destroy a nation. I mean, every nation, like we read in Psalms 83, every nation had a hand in our captivity and in destroying us. But you see it all through the scriptures. Point being, you see it all through the scriptures. You see it with the Egyptians. You see it with the Grecians. You see it with the Assyrians. You see it with the Persians and the Medes. You see it with the Babylonians. You see it with all these different nations that are not the Israelites. How they, every opportunity they got, they went to destroy us. But that's what happened in the Feast of Hanukkah, and we you know what I mean, you know what I mean, a brother by the name of Judas Maccabeus, I believe. I can't remember if that's the first brother or if that's his son, Mattathias. I believe that's Mattathias. He was like, we not having this. So he, you know what I mean, zealous, you know what I mean, he went up against the Grecians, and then, you know what I mean, gathered an army of brothers who was just as zealous as he was. And long story short, they was able to retake the temple and rededicate it because again they had profaned the temple. So that's the point. You know what I mean? Now, you know what I mean? But they that's what this is about. And that's another thing too. It's likely to be so long winded, but that's another thing. Uh the feast of Hanukkah just so happened this year to fall on your oppressor's Christmas. Now, if you look at your oppressor's Christmas or any of these vain holidays that they celebrate, it's all vain. It's for nothing. You ask what Christmas is about, they're going to tell you that it's Jesus's birthday, which is a lie. Christ wasn't Christ wasn't born on December 25th. It doesn't explicitly say what date he was born in, but it does say a season that he was born in. He was born in the season of tax time, where the you know what I mean your livestock are in the best condition. Your what's it called? Your produce is in the best condition. You know what I mean, to make money. The tax season was always just like it is today because America mirrors its empire off of Rome, Babylon. You know what I mean, so the same customs that the Romans had. Uh, the same reason why tax season is in, I believe, April. What is it? In March or April in the springtime. You know what I mean? Same thing back then. So if so he was born in that season. He wasn't born December 25th, but who was born December 25th is Nimrod, which is what the custom uh comes from. But you ask anybody who celebrates Christmas what it's about, what you doing this for, because you break your back to celebrate Christmas. You break your back and you go all out. You bend over backwards to celebrate Christmas. You working doubles and triples and you know what I mean, 2-3 jobs and you know what I mean, to make sure you keep this holiday, but it's for nothing. But everything that we do in these scriptures, everything that we do in the ISUPK, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, it's for something. It's deliberate and it's intentional, and it pertains to us, right? But that's the point. You know what I mean? That's the point. While you know what I mean, your aunties and your uncles is putting Christmas gifts under a tree. They don't know why. To them, it's just like because it's family. Because I want to because it's a good time to get together with family. That's what a slave would say. Because yes, you know what I mean, tomorrow is a good time to get with your family. Next week will be a good time to get together with your family. The same, you know what I mean, you wanted to get your daughters or your sons a gift, you could have gave them that same gift in November. You could have gave them that same gift in July. And you know what I mean, all throughout the year. You don't have to wait until your oppressor's holiday. You know what I mean? Same with getting together. You don't have to wait until your oppressor's holiday to decide you want to get together. That's something that a slave would do. Because again, during the time during our captivity in America, you know what I mean, that's the only time where you was allowed to, you know what I mean, celebrate or get together or, you know what I mean, take a break or a hiatus from your slavery was your oppressor's holidays. So that's why we celebrate the same holidays as our oppressor because we're slaves. All right. But here in this Bible, this feast of Hanukkah and the feast days and the high holy days that we keep in the ISUPK, they come straight out of this Bible and all of them have a purpose. You know what I mean? That you can remember. And every time we remember the feast of Hanukkah or any of these feast days, it should put some zeal and some courage in you, especially in your captivity. So where this is what my ancestors, this is what my family in the past have done, you know what I mean, in effort to put Israel back together. This is what we did to separate from our oppressors. You know what I mean? This is a time where we knew who our enemy was. And that should put some zeal in you to, you know what I mean, continue to do the work of the Lord. Or if you haven't, you know what I mean, to start doing the work of the Lord, to come into the ISUPK, wherever classes are being held in your city or state or zone or whatever the case is, or your country. And, you know what I mean, build up this nation. Or if there's no ISUPK in your zone, you know what I mean, call the nearest school, the nearest captain, or the nearest the school that's nearest to where you are. And you know what I mean, you can build it if there's no school where you are. You know what I mean? But these high holy days, these feast days, and these stories that you see in this Bible are your history book, and you can read it like the scriptures say. The things written aforetime are written for your learning. So patience and comfort of the scriptures, we might have hope. You know what I mean? You're supposed to read these scriptures and have comfort. You know what I mean? To where you see how zealous your forefathers was, and you can uh, be zealous as well. All right. But Salakia. All right. So we're gonna go into Bible Hub now. Let's see. Boom. Share that. Expand that. All right. So all right, we're gonna read from here and then we're gonna break it down. Let's see. How you feel about the Hebrew? You wanna give a okay, Most High in Christ. All right, read the first. I'll give you the first five.
First one
First five.
scriptures.
The first five phrases in Bible Hub.
Con. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 43, verse 34 in Hebrew. Wayasha'ah,
God.
Masha'at,
God.
Ma'at, Panayawan, Panayawan,
Panyawa.
Panayawa,
Panya. Wa.
Panyawa.
God. Well, I'm gonna break down why it's that way here in a second.
I already have trouble on no that right there.
You said it. It's like you said it again.
So like I always have trouble with those with the pa and the ya and the y at the end.
Con, yeah. Gotcha. I'm gonna break it down here in a second. Last one.
Allahum.
All
Oh no, Slaga.
con.
Yeah, Allahum.
La. All hum. All
All
hum.
Ahum.
Con. And I'll explain why it's pronounced that way as well.
Oh, shoot. La.
All right. Con. Now, con.
Oh, so it's the way it's written is not pronounced that way. That what you're saying?
Okay, I'm actually start. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm gonna break down why it's pronounced that way. So instead of pronouncing Allahum, it's all hum. All, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna click the concordance code and figure out the root word. The root word is all, con, which is to, toward, into, in, or regard to. So in this context, usually when you see all, it means to. Typically, it could mean any of these things as well, but for the most part, let me see if they'll break it down with the number of times that it's okay, against. Where's two at? That's not important anyway. But yeah, long story short, all means two. Now that just leaves hum. Hum. You look at that board right there. You look at they or them. Hum. So that's its own suffix, right? So all is a root word. So all is the root word, and then you add the suffix hum. So all hum. Con. All hum. To them. Right. So that's why it's pronounced that way. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, got you.
It kind of make us
Into the mic so they can hear you as well.
it's like it could make sense because I mean what is Most High? Not God, I mean God is Allahim.
Allahim.
Allahim, yeah, Allahim.
Con.
So it's kind of it's like spelled the way it's same way kind of too, right?
Con.
Yeah.
Con. Yeah, it's spelled similar. Or like if you were to say Allahum, it would be their power or the power of them, depending on what context is being used. But it's just to go to show like we was talking about a couple weeks before, the difference between red, and or the word red and read. Like it's spelled the same, but depending on the context and how you use it, you pronounce it differently. It's the same thing, and it's important that you know what you're reading so that you like it, so that you could pronounce it correctly. And that's what the red. If you still got Bible Hub open, that's what this red is for. That red underneath that I just highlighted on the screen. Well, you don't need to click it, but now it's just the English translation. So the word for word translation up underneath it. So if it says to them, you know it's pronounced all hum. But if it says something like their God or their power or the power of them or something like that, then you know it's Allah hum. Uh, but all of that comes from just the concepts that we done went over in past classes, uh, so that you can get your context from there. So a lot of times, like I'll be honest, like when I'm reading the Hebrew during Sabbath service or in class, I'm you kind of got to train yourself to like read both at the same time.
That's kind of what I'm do. I do
Kind
too. I read the English and then I read the Syrian. I also read the try to look at the blue a little bit
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'll help you as well, like just to remind you of like what it kind of sounds like. So you can use that as well. Uh, then you look at the characters, see what the characters in each individual sound it makes, and then you look at the English to be able to pronounce it correctly. Uh, but when you read in the Hebrew, uh, you want to look at like I find myself looking at both, especially the bottom two, like the Hebrew and the English, because sometimes like because certain words are sight words. We're gonna pull some sight words out of here in a second, but sometimes just because I know the sight word, I'll just read the sight word. I'll see the Hebrew and I'll just read the sight word because I know the sight word, and it'll just help it flow. Just like in English, you know what I mean? You read words because you know the words, so you just read and just you just the dog jumped over the bridge and all of that, and you just read straight through. You're not reading each character individually. It's the same with the Hebrew over time. All right, so I'm gonna start from the top. So waya wayasha'a masha masha'ath
Masha
ma'ath
Allah,
panya
Panya
wa
Panyawa
ahum. All right. So
Alham.
and he took, which is what the English says. So the root word is probably going to be took or take or a derivative of that word. Now, took or take in the Hebrew is quach, quach, right? But that's not what you see here. So it might be a different derivative of this word, uh, the word took or take. So let's see what's nasha'a, which means to lift, to carry, or bear, or take, right? Or to lift, right? So what? Let me see where does verse 34, and he took and sent messages unto them from before him. All right. So this ain't talking about like taking something from somebody. It's talking about you like if you were to pick up those chairs and move them over there, you you took the chairs and put them over there. That's like you're bearing a load, like you're lifting something and bringing it somewhere, right? So he's taking these things. He's taking the portion of I believe they're talking about food. Uh, come. Yeah, so they're taking or 34. They're taking their portion of food from one place to another, right? So that's the context of this word is talking about. So nasha'a is the root word, but you see wayasha'a. You remember why that is? Because the root word started with a na,
Yeah, so the nah.
but that na is not there. You remember why?
Nah is that possessive? Because it would be theirs. Third, because the third person. No.
Well, I don't that I'm gonna say that doesn't have anything to do with why that
Con,
nah isn't there.
con. He said it too.
And if while you're looking for that, if anybody in the chat as well wants to put the answer in the chat and break it down in the chat, feel free to as well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Share it with your peoples and all of that so they can learn the Hebrew just like you are. All right. You know what I mean? Make your comments, get your comments in there, whether you agree or not, whether you care or whether you learn it or not. You know what I mean? Put your comments in the chat anywhere. Get this algorithm up. You know what I mean? You found what you look. Are you still searching? That's all good. It's all good. And just to give you a hint as well, the Yah works in a similar way as well. I don't know if that's jogging your memory, but
It's
root
a buffer.
la la
I know the y'all is a buffer.
la.
Dang.
It's talking about. I'm talking about words that start with a na or a ya.
No, yeah. It's like it.
When you add a preposition or possessive to it, there's something that happens with words that start with a na or a ya. And you'll see it. We might see another example tonight as we read in the Lashawan Qadash. We might see it in Sabbath service a couple times, or I'm sure we are. I'm sure we are because this concept, again, these concepts that we teach in the Lashawan Qadash, it happens over and over and over again. That's why we can be sure that this is how this language is spoken because it happens consistently. You know what I mean? So you see these concepts, this concept that we're going over right now, you're going to see it again, maybe tonight in class, maybe just during Sabbath service. You saw it definitely last week in Sabbath service if you were if you watched or you participated, whatever zone you in. But you see these concepts that we're going over consistently. You know what I mean? That's why, you know what I mean? That's how I know that the Lashawan Kodash is easy. It's easy because it's just repetition. It's just these same concepts that we go over every week, repeated over and over. Okay, no sweat. All right, I'll go ahead and break it down. All right. So let me see. So that na or so the root word, let me actually go to the root word. So the root word is nasha'a. Nasha'a. Right? When you see a root word, and if you don't have it in your notes now, I would write it somewhere that you would be able to refer to it quickly. Right? So something that you like a little cheat sheet, somewhere that you can just open your notebook and just refer to it quickly. A root word that starts with a na or a ya, right, is typically replaced by the preposition. Like usually if you have a root word and you add a preposition to it, you'll just add it to the beginning of that root word. So take the word amar for example. Amar means to speak, or salaki to say. One of those salaki. I believe it's to say. So amar means to say. If you add a preposition, waya amar is just and he said. But you just add the preposition to that word. But with a word that starts with a na or a ya, instead of saying waya nisha'a, that na is replaced by the preposition. Did that make sense?
So like it, if I may, so the root word that starts with ya or na,
Con.
it replaces the preposition. You say replace the preposition.
It gets replaced by.
It get replaced by the preposition.
Con. Con. So that's why you see in this phrase that we just, and let me maximize it on the screen again. Just like that's why what you see here, instead of saying waya nasha'a, instead of seeing waya nasha'a, it's waya sha'a, because that na gets replaced by that ya, because that ya is a preposition. Yeah, did that make sense? And it might take let let me see. It might take just a little bit of time to just get it under your belt because it kind of breaks the normal rules that we used to. Like the preposition. Like if you got the foundation, a preposition goes before root word. So we just used to just adding that preposition to the beginning of the root word. But when you see a word that starts with a na or ya, it kind of breaks that rule, and instead of just adding it, it replaces it. Right. Go ahead.
It's like it. So when you're reading, it, you gonna have to know the root word basically.
Uh, something, or not necessarily, because it doesn't change whether you know the root word or not. It's not gonna change how you pronounce it.
No, can I say that because just for the example we just used for took over took, right?
Con,
It doesn't have it doesn't have yeah, so it doesn't, like you say, right here in the Syrian, it doesn't have na,
right.
but you would pronounce it like you said, how you said na, how you said, yeah, na sha'a.
La, you won't pronounce the na.
I'm saying, yeah, kind of, I'm saying, but it's not sha'a is the root word.
Right.
What I'm saying, but so you were saying, well, I see what you're saying now. If it's ya, you always know it's gonna be. He said na, it's replaced by it's replacing the na. Pretty
Con,
much. Oh, I got you.
con.
I got
So,
you.
but okay. So when you're reading it in the Lashawan, like when you're reading it during Sabbath service, a lot of these concepts you may like you might just read it and not know that that's nasha'a.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
You
I'm
might
not.
not
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I'm not gonna know. Yeah,
but you'll just be reading it and pronouncing it the way it's written.
kind.
But this is something that, like, again, this is why it's important to be in Lashawan Qadash class,
Um,
because then you can add nasha'a to your vocabulary,
yeah,
like to mean to take. Like if I'm taking you to scroll, you know what I mean, or if I'm taking food to my brother, if I'm taking uh my priest funds or my taking my camp funds to the school, you know what I mean, which I'm saying that to remind myself, but yeah, yeah, but you can add that to your vocabulary, but you won't be able to add that to your vocabulary. You won't be able to catch that concept during Sabbath service because now it's time to perform. But but there are concepts where you will just know, like mathun is a word that or nothun rather. Nothun is an example that I use often to describe this concept because nothun is a root word that starts with a na and it follows the same rule. So if you were to add a ma to the beginning of nathun, it wouldn't be manathun, it would be muthun. And because that's a root word, that's a sight word for me, and it should be for all of us because that's a root word that's in the Lord's Prayer that we say every week during Sabbath service. But because that's a root word that I recognize off the rip, when I see words like muthun or yathun, I know that the root word is nothing, right? Just because of that concept. But that just comes from building your vocabulary, being in class, uh, being diligent and studying. Let me see. All right, so waya sha'a ma salakia ma sha'ath, right? With tribute, burden, lifting up, elevation, right? Tribute is the word that best fits the what's it called? Actually, this is another example, right? This is a this is another example uh, of the concept that we just went over. So what we just read before is waya sha'a kan kan. So waya sha'a ma sha'a. So it's the root word nasha'a, right? But that oh, you want to break it down?
try.
Okay.
It's derived from it was derived from the root word nasha'a,
Uh-huh.
for us to lifting or lift up or carry.
Right.
So so it's masha'a.
Right. So how do we get from Nasha'a to
Cause sha,
Masha'ath?
so sha'a must be the sha'a must be the I don't know. Is sha'a is the no, I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Why did the Na drop off?
It got replaced.
Uh-huh.
It got replaced with ma,
Right. Which is a preposition meaning.
meaning or from.
Uh-huh. Right.
So the basis of the content, was been taking place in the scriptures. That's why it been replaced.
Not well, just focus on the phrase, just the word. Like don't worry about the scripture for right now.
Yeah. So he lifted or he right or no?
No, ma means from,
Yeah, from yeah,
right?
from yeah.
So
So
when you add a ma to the beginning of a, and I don't know if it's on the board, but you see there's like an asterisk by the ma,
con
and there's also an asterisk by the,
yeah
or
yeah
you see Salaki, there's a box around the sha and the
sha
ma. You see that on the
con
board?
sir.
The reason why I did that is like that's a mental note for how I will write my notes. That's a mental note for me, so I know that when you add a ma or a sha to a root word, it creates another root word.
Oh,
Another word is built uh off of that ma or that sha. So you add sha to na'a, nasha'a, and it's the literal translation is from tribute. The word sha'a or nasha'a means tribute or to lift, to bear, right? Or to carry. Masha'a is built from the root word nasha'a, and you add that ma to it, and you're essentially creating another root word. You see it with a lot of like another simple example that I use often. Mayum means water. Shamayum means of water or from water, or the new root word that's produced from adding that ma is heavens, because the properties of heaven come from water. So that's how that root word is built. All right. So you add a ma to the beginning of a root word, you're building a new root word. Same with sha, does the same thing. Con, con. So you might if it's a concept that's new, you might just have to write it out. As you get used to it or familiar with that concept, on your cheat sheet, I would just do what I did there. Like just put a box or a square or circle around that preposition. So it's a mental note for you. But this phrase is built off the same root word. So masha'a, and then now there's a tha at the end. Right. That tha at the end is for time's sake, Slacky. That tha at the end is a servile tense. Kind. So because Joseph is serving his family, he's serving them. You know what I mean? Or he's having his servants serve them rather. But essentially Joseph is serving his family. Right. So you see that servile tense at the end. Right. But I know that might have I mean that might have been a little tedious, or it might have oh lock here. Mike. Make sure we still Mike. Okay, the audio's still good. Uh let's see. No sweat. No sweat. I'm gonna go ahead and just keep going without the picture. Or actually, let me see what I could do. Ooh, all right, we back. No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. All right, we back though. Damn, what was I saying? But I know that process was tedious. I'm teaching it like that so that I'd be able to identify these concepts and recognize them when we see them again. Because we're going to see this concept again later. And that's the whole point. Every time we run into a new concept, you want to write it down and make a note of it and remember it for the future. You know what I mean? A lot of these things you might be able to remember in your mind. You might be able to just remember in your head. But I know me personally, my memory is not the best, so I don't trust my mind. I don't trust my mind to be able to remember this concept. So, you know what I mean? You might have to write it down first. Get it in your hands, get it in your memory that you wrote it down, get it in your notes. So if you ever forget it, you can go back and reference it. And then that's how you'll be able to remember it in your mind. But but that's just one of the concepts that so once you get all these concepts just under your belt, you get them written down in your notes, then it'll be easy. You won't have to take so many, or it won't be so tedious. But Salakia. But it's Salakia. But that's all when you're reading in Hebrew, you're just combining these concepts. You're just combining the or you're just breaking down the concepts and you're just reading it. So again, like how we was talking about earlier with the next phrase we're gonna get into and the last two that we went over. By knowing these concepts, that's how you'll know how to pronounce the phrase. All right. So masha'ath, which is portions, all right? Ma'ath, ma'ath, or uh ma'ath is just a root word that means from. From, all right? From. So when you see it in the scriptures, it means just know it means from. Right. And then Panyawa. I remember earlier when you first saw it, you wanted to pronounce it Panayawa. All right. So I'm gonna just explain why that's incorrect. So you click the concordance, Salaki. Right. Panya, Panya or Panyam, which is the root word, means two face or face or two face. Like when we say alawat Panya, that means you know what alawat means? And Panya means. So what do we do when we say alawat Panya? Khan. And then Barak, which means Khan. So we turn and face the general to salute the general, right? That's what Panya means, to face. When during Sabbath service, when we say Sar, you know what Sar means? Wa Panya. No. Khan. So Sar means turn. Wa Panya. Wa means and. We just learned that Panya means to face, right? Sar Wapanya Hakwadam means what did you just say? Khan. So that whole phrase Sar Wapanya Hakwadam means turn and face the east. Khan. So this is another root word that should be a sight word just because we use it so often. Right? So Panya is the root word. So you pronounce it Panya. You don't it's not Panaya. It's Panya. That's the root word. I believe Salaki. I believe you could break it down further in pun. You go to the body parts class. Pun is face.
All right, so wala pa panya, so wala pa
Alawap panya.
alawat panya,
Okay.
yes,
Alawap panya.
alawat panya.
Okay.
Turn and face and then we
It means face the general.
face the general.
Con,
I got you. Face the
right?
general. Alawap, alawapanya.
Con. Uh alawat means general.
General.
Or I believe I can't remember the origin of that word. Uh alap means command or to something like that. And then alawap, that Y in the middle, means what it means commanding or like directing or guiding, something like that.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah. On my notes, I got yeah. Alawap is the general.
let me
Then commanding is like matazabaya.
matazab ya.
Yeah.
Let me see what the root word for alap or alawap is.
Oh, Lord.
Alap means, let me go to and also while I'm doing this as well, uh the Strong's Hebrew dictionary is in the back of the concordance in the physical copy. But if you want a copy on your phone, digital copy, you could get one on Kindle. I believe when I got it, it was like $2 and some change. But I think I got it on a promo. So if you get it now, it might be like maybe five, almost $10. But you can have it for very cheap on your phone. Like I bought this 5 years ago. I bought it like 5 years ago on my phone.
So you get it on your phone.
Con. But it's been, I mean, once you buy it once, it's free. And, I think since I got it, I didn't replace my phone like 4 or 5 times. And every time I open up my Kindle app or Amazon, I believe Kindle is on Amazon. Every time I open up Kindle, it's on here. So I bought it one time and I never lost it. It doesn't go away. So I lot. But I recommend brothers and sisters take advantage of having this tool. Because if you're not in the school or if you don't have a big old concordance all the time, which most people don't, uh, you can just have it conveniently in your phone. And then you can practice using this resource, the dictionary. So uh a lot uh chief, governor. That's the root word of alawap. So alap is governor. Alawap, that Y in the middle. You remember what that Y in the middle means?
It's servile.
La.
No, it's what is it? I know what it is.
It's all good. Take your time.
It's a doing.
Doing tense. So the word alap without the Y in the middle means governor. Alawap means what?
Alawap. Wait.
Con. So alap means governor or govern. Alawap means. So when you see a Y in the middle of a word, you're essentially just adding what? In.
I is doing
Con.
ing.
Ing. So alap means govern. Alawap means what?
Wap.
Governing.
Governing.
Con. It's talking about what the governor is doing.
God.
I mean, the generals govern the nation.
Right, so what I so like it about me, I got Alawap. I got 1,000.
Con. It also means thousand.
All right, all
Con. I can't remember the correlation. I can't remember the correlation off the top of my head. But also, a lot means cow or ox. All right, you look at go back to the pictographs, and a lot means it's the character that's represented, or it's the word that's represented by the character a lot. You look at the ancient Hebrew, and the looks like a sideways ox or cow's head. All right, but just like in English, words can have several different meanings. Sometimes they usually have correlations. Like the word, for example, not to get too far off track, but the word chazak means chest. Chazak also means strong because somebody who's strong has a big chest, right? And it also means take because someone who's strong with a big chest can just take what's yours. So those three words, chazak means take, strong, and chest. All three of those words are correlated by the development of the language. Same with war. The word for war is malachama. That comes from the word lakam, which means, like you said earlier, bread. Because wars are fought over bread, right? So when you see like a word that has multiple definitions, usually they're correlated one way or another. It just depends on the development of the language, or and we have those a lot in the English as well, like like how we say, what do we say in the English? But there, I can't think of for time's sake, I can't think of any examples. But you'll see things like that in the English as well, where one word will be used for another word or to represent another thing, and they'll be correlated. That's how the Hebrew is. Uh, so alap is governor. Alawap means governing, which is talking about what the governor is doing. Like same with Adawan. It comes from the root word Adon, which means Lord. Adawan is talking about what your Lord is doing. No, no, not in this context. And that's another thing we was talking about. If you know the root word, then you can understand like you can understand what concepts are being used and what's not. Like in this context, because we know the root word is a done, we know when you see Adawan, it's not the naming tense, it's the doing tense. Because we know the context of the word and how it's being used. So that's why we say Khan Adawan Khan, because we say Khan Adawan Khan when your Lord is being a Lord over you. So if he's giving you an order, he's being a Lord. So we're talking about what your Lord is doing. So you say Khan Adawan Khan. Now typically I gotta ask this, but typically I gotta ask well, me personally, I'm curious why we don't, like when you're talking to your Lord in a general sense, why we don't say Adon. I would have to ask why that is. But when your Lord is giving you an order, you say Adawan, Khan Adawan Khan. But that's just the culture of the school. We say Adawan. Uh, but I would just have to ask that part. That's something I'm personally curious about. But okay, where we at? Panya. So okay, Salakia. All of that stemmed from Panya. Good night. So Panya is the root word. Now you know it's pronounced like that instead of Panaya. So Panya is the root word. It derives from the root word pun, which is face. Right. When you see a ya at the end of a root word, it denotes possession. So if you see it as a possessive, which comes at the end of a root word, it means me or my, or it could just be used as a buffer. But if you see it attached to a root word and it's neither of those things, it's used to denote possession. For example, like if you're naming a nation, uh like how do you say Israel in Hebrew?
Yashala.
Khan. Now if you want to say Israelite or son of Israel or belonging to, denoting possession, what would you add to the end?
Possession.
Khan. I just told you.
You would put Ya.
Khan. So
Yashala. Yashala. Ya.
Khan.
All right.
Yasha Aliyah.
All right.
So Israelite,
Oh,
belonging to Israel. That's how you denote possession. It doesn't mean me or my, right? In that context, it's just something to denote possession. Same with any nation. You take Yashima Allah, that's Ishmael, the nation of Ishmael, the so-called Arabs. Now, if you want to say Ishmaelite, you say Yashima Allah,
yeah.
Yashima Allah Yah. That's why in the on if does that sound familiar to you? Yashima Allah Yah. It's in the Psalms 83 in the Hebrew. when it's naming all the nations that had a hand in oppressing us.
All right.
The Ishmaelites. Yashima Aliyah is Ishmaelite, one Ishmaelite. Yashima Aliyum is several.
Yeah, yum. I know yum. Yeah.
Come,
Make it plural.
come. But that Yah at the end just denotes possession in this case. You take any nation of the Bible, add a Yah to the end, it is saying son of or belonging to this nation. Right? So that's the same thing that's going on with Panya. Right? And then to build the root word Panya, which means to face. Right? Then Panya is the root word. You just add a wa at the end to say he, his, or it, or him. He, him, his, or it. Right? Panya wa. Face him or before him or in front of him. Salaki. Right? So that's why instead of pronouncing it Panaya wa, it's Panya wa.
Payanwa.
And then the last one, all hum. We already talked about this one. All means two. Hum means them. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So to them. All right. We're gonna go ahead end it right there.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? This is an excellent class, you know what I mean, in my opinion. We was able to practice and use some of these concepts that we might not be used to seeing or might not be used to using on the day to day. But and it also, you know what I mean, it helped us brush up on, you know what I mean, we might have had to revisit our notes. We was able to add something to our notes. You know what I mean? Knock the dust off that notebook. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then from if you keep it up, like if you stay in class, if you keep showing up, if you keep taking notes, you can then build a cheat sheet. You can build a cheat sheet from all the concepts that we made, and then you can just have a quick reference cheat sheet. Like, okay, if you see a concept or if you have a question about anything, you can reference this quick sheet, and boom, now you got the entire Hebrew language, literally in your hands. You know what I mean? Right in front of you. And it's going to make you sharper. Like a lot of these concepts, you'll be able to remember. So when you're reading during Sabbath service, you'll be better at pronunciation. You'll be faster. You'll be more confident. And you'll learn more as you read it. You feel me? Or you about to say something?
It's like I mean, I know like before we went over the past tense. Like I know no why. When it's past tense, you be saying how would you say it in past tense? Like, for instance, like in the prayer, like you be saying, you be saying like Salak Nawawa.
Noah.
Salak Nawa. So it's like past tense or
no.
No,
right. No, it's just what's it called? It's just how you would say we or us. Let me think. Forgive us. That's how. For sure, it's not past tense, but that's just if you see Noah, it's to just say we, and at the beginning of that phrase, let me see how I can put this. It starts off. Let's see. If you're seeing a word in so the word for we, like you see on the board, is anak Noah. Noah isn't a word. It's just a conjugation. Anak Noah is the word. So if you're saying a sentence that's in past tense and it say we did this and we did this and we did this, you'll see anak Noah at the beginning to say we, and then it'll say the word with the conjugation. Like we saw. Ra'ah means see, in past tense is saw, right? So you'll say anak Noah, Ra'ah Noah. So we saw and we took. So remember the word for took or take? Quack. So to take quack or took quack. We saw anak Noah, Ra'ah Noah, and we if you the sentence will start with a knock Noah, and then after that you won't see it again. It'll just be Noah after every verb.
All right, con.
So, and we took Quack Noah, and we said Amar Noah, and we spoke the bar Noah. You'll just see that Noah at the end. But that's how that's conjugated. So, but long story short, anytime you see Noah, it just means we. And some verb at the beginning of that phrase was or slack here. At the beginning of that phrase somewhere you'll see a knock Noah. But I'll have to I'm glad you said that as well. So we had past tense on the board for a long time. Past tense, that whole lesson. Pretty soon, I'm gonna do future tense. It's gonna be another concept that you're gonna see often in the scriptures. That I want brothers and sisters to be able to recognize when we do go over it, and that's gonna help you be fluent as well and be more confident in what you're reading. But that's gonna be the next thing, and I believe there's a present tense as well. I got to look into that. I gotta look into that as well. But I have the future tense lesson prepared and ready. I just want brothers to kind of like digest that. I don't want to overwhelm brothers, and then because if you try to take on too much and too fast, like we was talking about in Isaiah, it says before you can teach, you have to be taught. Before you can, understand heavier matters, before you can understand the meat, you have to be first drawn from the breast. You know what I mean? Uh who will teach knowledge and who will understand paraphrasing? Those that are drawn from the breast. You know what I mean? Who who drink the milk first, and then you can understand heavier things, right? That's what this is. So I don't want to overwhelm you too much, too fast with too much at once. So past tense is up there from the last couple months. Make sure you get it in your notes. Make sure you digest it. Make sure you get comfortable and with recognizing it and in reading it in Bible Hub, and then once you digest that, then we can go into future tense. All right, so that's the plan. That's the plan for the next couple lessons, or the next coming in the near future. All right. Uh, with that, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Whether you agree or not, make sure you share, comment anyway. You a scoffer, share with your fellow scoffers. Who believe the same thing that you believe. If you a, if you a Christian and you believe, what you believe, share it with your fellow Christians so they can, scoff right along with you. And if you, if you brother or sister in school, or if you're not in the school, but you learn in the Hebrew and you find these classes valuable, share it as well with your family and friends so that they can have the same knowledge and understanding that you get from these classes. All right. And also, as always, make sure you hit that QR code in the top of the screen, and whether whether class is live or whether it's 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, whether class is going or not, you can hit that QR code and somebody will be there to answer your questions. Or, if you want to organize a debate or whatever the case is, you just want to talk your silly mess. I would be careful in that QR code. You talk your silly mess, you're going to get kicked up out of there. I done seen it happen. But, make sure you come correct, act like you got some sense. But yeah, point is you hit that QR code and you'll get your questions answered and addressed the morning, noon, and night. You know what I mean? With that, say I Madium, which means to stand. Give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Individual Mother Shabbat. I Madium. Barak. Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatom. Yad Batah. Sorry, no turn face to sisters. We courtesy salute to the sisters. Individual Mother Shabbat. I Madium. Barak. Yahweh Shem Lakam Bashem Yahushua. Yad Batah.